The following is your third grammar lesson to help you with the editing and revision of your paper. Here's a quick refresher on verbs. A verb is a word that shows action or a state of being. We already reviewed the most common verbs of being: am, is, are, was, were, be, being, and been. If we're talking about action verbs should be easier to find. You need to ask, what action is being completed in your sentence? What is being done here? Remember, every single sentence contains at least one verb. So if you're looking through your sentences and you don't find any verbs, that means one out of two things. Either number one, you have a sentence fragment, or number two, there is a verb in there, you just need to keep looking. Now, with this essay, we are faced with a difficult task. We are writing about literature, the poems of our selected authors, as well as history, the Harlem Renaissance movement. Whenever you write about literature, you are expected to use the present tense. This is called the literary present, and this is why your teachers have been telling you to write in the present tense since freshman year. When we write about history, however, we need to use the past tense. The Harlem Renaissance happened in the 1920s, and your paper would sound very awkward if you referred to the 1920s in the present tense. So you face a unique challenge with this paper that you haven't really faced on any other papers, and that's why I came up with this lesson today, to help you out with that. So what do we do? How do we address this? Start with a single body paragraph so you don't feel overwhelmed. Go through, identify, and highlight all of the verbs in your sentences. This includes action verbs as well as verbs of being. Once you've done that, determine whether the topic of your sentence is the poems or the Harlem Renaissance movement. If the poems are the topic of your sentence, your verbs should be in the present tense. 99% of present tense verbs end in S. Notice I did not say 100%. This isn't a hard and fast rule. You can't just change every single verb to end in S and have it come out okay. You do need to do a little bit of thought here and self-reflection and checking, but most of the time, they should end in S. If the Harlem Renaissance movement is the topic of your sentence, your verbs should be in the past tense. Once again, 99% of past tense verbs end in ED. Again, I did not say 100%. You need to go through, you need to be careful, and you need to check to make sure what you are writing makes sense. Don't just slap an ED onto the end of everything and hope everything turns out okay. So for some practice, let's look at some examples versus some non-examples. Here is an incorrect sentence. Claude McKay used symbolism to convey his theme. This is incorrect because the focus of this sentence is on the poems. Therefore, we should be using the literary present. The correction for this sentence would read, Claude McKay uses symbolism to convey his theme. Now let's look at another non-example. An incorrect sentence would say, Black Americans face oppression before the Harlem Renaissance. This should sound very awkward because the time period that we are currently in is after the Harlem Renaissance. So using the present tense doesn't really make sense, especially since the focus of this sentence is on the historical movement. So how do we rewrite this? The correct form of this sentence would say, Black Americans faced, with a D on the end, oppression before the Harlem Renaissance. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me through the class social media accounts, whether on Twitter or on Instagram. Good luck, good writing, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.